Sup guys, it's Alex here, and welcome to the last Bracketology update of February. This one is for February 28th, and man, I am excited. We are getting ready to head into March. March Madness is starting up. Conference tournaments are going to be starting up here in the next couple of days. Man, I am so excited, but thank you guys for watching. If you have been watching these last few Bracketologies I've been doing, I think almost every single one from February has over 1,000 views, and I think these last few ones have been approaching 2,000. So thank you guys for all the support on that. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and look at the movement across the bracket. Different teams moving up, teams moving like across different regions, and different matchups are happening and stuff. I'm telling you guys, March Madness is all about the matchups. Teams can be on the 2 line, they can be on the 3 line, they can be on the 4, the 9, 10, 11, but it's all about who they're matching up and who they're potentially matching up a few rounds later. And that's how I make my predictions. That's how you guys should make your predictions. It should just be about which team is better in this matchup, not necessarily who's the better seed. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and look at this Midwest Regional. Up here in the top left, this is going to be in Indianapolis, where I will be seeing the Elite 8 matchup, which will be the regional final. Hopefully, I'll be able to see the Sweet 16. It just kind of depends on work. We'll kind of see what happens with that. Since it's a Thursday-Saturday matchup, it'll be a bit tougher for me to get off on a Thursday rather than if it was a Friday and Sunday. But without any further ado, we have Kansas as the number 1 seed over there. Indiana is now up to a 9. Northern Iowa has fallen to a 12 seed out of the Missouri Valley Conference. Louisville is now down to a 4 after losing on the road at Florida State. They had a great chance for a quality win, and they were up by 11 in the second half against Florida State, but just completely shut down the stretch and ended up losing by 15. Then Kentucky is up to a 3. They have only lost like one time since, I think, January 15th, something like that. Then Bowling Green is up to is new to the field as a 14, not up to a 14. Utah State is now up to a 10. Then down here, if we take a look at the East Regional, we have San Diego State as the 1 seed. Florida with Kerry Blackshear is now, I don't know why I say Kerry Blackshear, that's more for the actual predictions and stuff. They're now up to an 8 after getting a home win against LSU this week. St. Mary's is now down to a 9. Cincinnati is now down to an 11. West Virginia is down to a 7. You guys know, if you've been watching my last few Bracketologies, I have been hating on West Virginia this entire season, even since when they were down as a 2 seed. I never picked them to make the Sweet 16, and people were making fun of me and giving me crap for that. But I have been right. They have been falling down the bracket from a 2 all the way to the 7. I have been right with that, and I'm going to stick with that about being right. So that's why another reason why you should subscribe and listen to my predictions. Then up here on the top left regional, we have top right regional, we have the South with Baylor as the 1 seed. That remains the same. NC State and Providence are the bubble teams in the play-in game over there as the 12. Then Rhode Island is down to an 11. They almost had a doomsday scenario where they ended up winning on the road at Fordham by 1 point, but Fordham's like 7-20. They are one of the worst teams in the A-10, and if Rhode Island had lost that game, they'd probably be out of the tournament as of right now. Then we have East Tennessee State, who's one of my favorite mid-majors. It's like them, Liberty, and Stephen F. Austin. They're like my favorite guys, and maybe throw in Northern Iowa in there. But now East Tennessee State is up to a 10 seed, which is good for their at-large candidacy if they end up faltering down to like Furman or UNC Greensboro in the Southern Tournament. Then down here in the West Regional, we have Gonzaga as the 1 seed. Then Texas Tech is now down to an 8 after losing to Oklahoma. Virginia's up to a 9 after going on the road and beating Virginia Tech. Wisconsin's up to a 5 after going on the road and beating Michigan last night. Then New Mexico State is up to a 13. The playing game, as you can see there, with the 11 spot is USC and Oklahoma. Rutgers is now down to a 10. They have lost, I think, 5 out of the last 6 games. Something like that. They are not looking good down the stretch. And then Duke is the 2 seed there. And we'll take a look at the bubble before I kind of get into my picks and stuff. We have Rutgers, Utah State, Wichita State, and Rhode Island as the last 4 byes. Last 4 in are Oklahoma, Providence, USC, and NC State. First 4 out are Stanford, Richmond, Mississippi State, and UCLA, which UCLA is one of the hottest teams in the nation right now. I think they've won like 9 out of their last 10 games. They had a crazy game-winning shot against Arizona State last night to end up winning that game. They are looking like a team that can make some noise in the tournament, which is a huge surprise in Mick Cronin's first year there. Then the next 4 out are Purdue, who ended up getting a home win against Indiana. Then Arkansas, Memphis, and Texas. Then I'll go ahead and shout out Selection Sunday updates on Instagram. Before I get into my predictions, just letting you guys know this is a page that you need to follow on Instagram. They give nightly updates on any big games that are relevant towards the tournament. They do blind resumes to where they compare 2 different teams. One team has a better resume, as always, but it may be a team that you thought absolutely sucked, and team that had the worst resume is actually one of the top tier teams. It's just an interesting way to kind of compare teams. They are always up to date on the different college basketball stuff on there. I get a lot of my news and thoughts from their page, so make sure you go ahead and follow their page. Then I am also doing an NCAA tournament ticket giveaway. If we hit 5,000 subscribers by March 17th, which is the start of the first 4 games in Dayton on that Tuesday. Right now we are at 4,210, as you can see right there, so we definitely have some work to do. We need to get like 40 or 50 subscribers a day, but obviously that'll come better once we get to like the 6th or like the 15th with Selection Sunday. But make sure you are subscribed for that. If you are not subscribed, make sure you are. I have the details on how to enter the NCAA tournament ticket giveaway in the description below. All you have to do is screenshot a picture of you being subscribed with post notifications on. Follow me on Instagram at AlexPrice24, as you can see right there. Then DM me a screenshot of you being subscribed. Let me know what your favorite college basketball team is and the closest NCAA tournament location to you, and then I'll send you a message confirming that you're entered. I think we have over 100 entries right now, so it's going to be a great giveaway. I'll be doing a video showing the winners and stuff like that and making sure they accept it and stuff. So yeah, but without any further ado, let's go and get into these picks. So up first in the Midwest Regional, we have Kansas beating the winner of Prairie View A&M and NC A&T, which obviously we're going to have Kansas doing that. And in the next bracketology, I forgot to show it in this video, but I will be showing you guys how you can go download this bracket. It's set up with the 2019 NCAA tournament team, so I have to update it. I'm sorry I can't post this one with the updated teams with each bracketology that I'm doing to that site. But you can download the bracket and be able to make your picks like this. I know I did it last video. All you have to do is just update the teams. And so, yeah, that's the quick little thing there. I'll kind of do that in the next bracketology and show you guys if you are new. So we'll go ahead and pick this next matchup. We have LSU beating Indiana. LSU has not been performing very well recently, but I think that they can get the job done. Their defense has been horrible recently, but I think they can get it in check in time for the tournament. Then we have Cassius Winston and Michigan State moving on past Northern Iowa. Louisville, I think, will beat Vermont. Then we have Ohio State, who's one of the hottest teams in February. They're one of the coldest teams in January, but they have turned it on here late in February. They ended up beating Maryland at home I think last weekend. I want to say it was like Sunday, something like that. Then Kentucky will beat Bowling Green. Utah State, I think, will get an upset here over Butler. Butler was on 1 seed at one point earlier in the season, but they have just been looking awful recently. They're losing left and right, kind of like West Virginia, as I mentioned earlier. And then Maryland will beat Wright State. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we have Kansas moving on past LSU. Michigan State, I think, will get the 5/4 slight upset here over Louisville. Louisville has been kind of lives and dies by how Jordan Nwora performs. If he performs great, they usually win. But recently, this season, he was supposed to be one of my preseason player of the year contenders. He might have been my preseason player of the year behind Cassius Winston, but he has not been performing up to par. He has not been disappointing this season as a whole. I think Cassius Winston and Michigan State get the job done there. Then I think that Kentucky will beat Ohio State. I know Ohio State did beat Kentucky earlier this season in the CBS Sports Classic, but I think that Kentucky has gotten a lot better since then. I think they get the job done here as the 3/6. Then we got Maryland beating Utah State. If I can pick Maryland here, there we go. Then for a spot in the Elite Eight, we have Kansas beating Michigan State. That matchup would be great to see. I know usually they face off like once every 3 years or something like that in the Champions Classic, but I think that Kansas is a much better team at this point in the season than Michigan State is. Then I'm going to go with a slight upset here with the 3/2 with Kentucky. Moving on, Kentucky has been turning it on. They have 2 potential All-Americans in Nick Richards and Emmanuel Quickly. I think they get the job done there against Maryland's 1 All-American and Anthony Cohen. But then they fall short here in the Elite Eight. And I think that Kansas, if I saw that game live, man, I would be super pumped and I'd be rooting hard for Kentucky as I'm a big Blue fan. But I think that Kansas will get the job done there. They're a better team right now. They only have, I think, 3 losses on the course of the season. I think they get the job done there against Kentucky and move on to the Final Four. Then up next, we have San Diego State down here in the East Regional beating Austin Peay. Then I think that Kerry Blackshear in Florida will move on past St. Mary's. Then I'm going to go with an upset pick here and go with Liberty beating Colorado. Liberty is one of my favorite teams. I know they got the first round upset last year over Mississippi State. Colorado, I've been ragging on throughout these last few bracketologies that I've been doing. And they ended up losing last night to California, who's one of the worst teams, if not the worst team, in the Pac-12. People have been giving me crap about picking against Colorado in the last few bracketologies I've been doing. But, I mean, the proof is in the pudding here. Colorado is not the team that people think they are. I got Liberty getting the upset there. Then Penn State, I think, will beat Stephen F. Austin. Stephen F. Austin, as I mentioned earlier, is one of my favorite at-large teams, but I don't like that matchup here against Penn State. I think Stephen F. Austin could make a run, and I've picked them to make a run in recent bracketologies, but I think Penn State will shut them down there. Then Luke Garza, who is a potential player of the year, will lead Iowa past Cincinnati. Seton Hall and Mouse Powell will move on past Hofstra. They're going to go with Xavier beating West Virginia in a 10-7 there, and then Dayton beating South Dakota State. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we got San Diego State beating Florida. Liberty, I think, can get the upset here over Penn State. I need to have some sort of upset throughout the course of my bracket, but I have Liberty moving on as the 12-4 there over Penn State. Penn State has been kind of quieting down recently. They are still a 4 seed, but they're not as hot as they were maybe even 2 weeks ago, and Liberty hasn't lost in over a month. So I'm going to go with Liberty moving on there. Then we got Seton Hall with Mouse Powell moving on past Iowa, and then Dayton, I think, will beat Xavier. Then for a spot in the Elite Eight, we got San Diego State, who's just going to overpower Liberty at this point. Then Dayton with Obi Toppin. I think we'll be able to hold off Seton Hall here. Dayton is one of my favorite teams to watch right now, and I think Obi Toppin will end up winning Player of the Year. But I got them beating Seton Hall at that point. And then for a spot in the Final Four, we have Dayton and Obi Toppin moving on past San Diego State. I would love to see a Final Four matchup there between Kansas and Dayton. That is a rematch of the Maui, and we'll get more into that later. Then if we go up here to the top right regional, where we have the South region, we have Baylor beating Radford, Illinois beating Arizona State. I think Io DeSumo, I think is how you pronounce his name. He will lead Illinois to a victory there. Then I think that Michigan will beat the winner of NC State and Providence, which at this point I'd say probably Providence. They've been turning it on recently. Auburn, I think, will beat North Texas if Isaac Okoro is back. Then we got Arizona with Nico Mannion beating Rhode Island. I think I probably would have picked Rhode Island to get the upset there had they not performed so badly against Fordham in that last game. Then we got Villanova beating Colgate. I'm going to go with Marcus Howard losing here in the first round to East Tennessee State. You guys know how much I love Marquette if you've been watching my videos, but I think that East Tennessee State will get the upset there. They're a complete team, and I think they're going to make some noise in the tournament. Then we have Florida State beating Little Rock. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we have Baylor beating Illinois. Then we're going to have Michigan beating Auburn. I don't think Isaac Okoro may be back in time for that, but even if he is back in time, I think Michigan with Isaiah Livers, or I think that's his first name, and then Xavier Simpson. I maybe getting this all wrong, maybe the complete opposite way around. I think Simpson and Livers can get Michigan past Auburn in that situation. Then we got Villanova moving on here as a 3 seed against Arizona, and then Florida State beating East Tennessee State. I could see a 10-2 there with East Tennessee State moving on, but Florida State has been really impressive. They swept Louisville this season. They gave Duke a game. I can't remember who ended up winning that game between Florida State and Duke a couple games ago. I want to say it was Duke, but I think Florida State is one of the best teams in the nation at this point. I'm going to go with Baylor moving on here to the Elite Eight past Michigan. And I'm going to go with Florida State moving on past Villanova. And then for a spot in the Final Four, you got to go with Baylor. They've only lost twice this season. Once in the second game of the season against Washington, where they led the entire game, and then their only other loss was to Kansas. I think they're one of the top teams in the nation at this point. I think they make the Final Four there. Then if we go down here to the bottom right regional in the West, we have Gonzaga moving on past the winner of Siena and St. Francis. Texas Tech with Chris Beard winning a rematch of last year's national championship game here in an 8-9 matchup. That's kind of funny. Over Virginia. Virginia is just a really hard team to watch. They have a really slow offense, but they also have a really good defense. I think Texas Tech gets their revenge in that matchup. Then Wisconsin, I think, will beat Yale. You guys know how much I don't really like Wisconsin, but they've been really impressive recently, and now they're up to a 5 seed after getting a road win over Michigan. Peyton Pritchard and Oregon will move on past New Mexico State. BYU will move on past the winner of USC and Oklahoma, which I think would probably be USC. Then we got Creighton moving on past UC Irvine. Rutgers, I think, will pull off the upset here in a 10-7. I know I mentioned earlier they've been kind of struggling recently, but I think they'll get the victory over Houston. Then Duke will beat Montana. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we got Gonzaga over Texas Tech. Oregon will beat Wisconsin with Peyton Pritchard as the 4 seed there. Moving on, then we got Creighton beating BYU as a 3. Creighton is one of the hottest teams in the nation right now, if not the hottest team. And we got Duke beating Rutgers and moving on to the Sweet 16. They're going to go with an upset pick here and go with Oregon moving on past Gonzaga. Gonzaga has only lost twice this season, once to BYU, and I think the other one was to Michigan in the battle for Atlantis. But I think Oregon can make some noise here with Peyton Pritchard. He's one of the best players in the nation, and there's always upsets here. I think it's been a while since all number 1 seeds made it to the Elite Eight, because I think last year in this region, Auburn ended up beating North Carolina as the 5/1. Then we're going to go with Creighton beating Duke. Duke has been looking awful recently. I hate how they're still a 2 seed here after losing to NC State and then Wake Forest by double digits. I'm going to go with Creighton moving on here. Duke just doesn't look like they wanted to play recently. And then for a spot in the Final Four, we have Creighton beating Duke and Creighton beating Oregon, not Duke. They already beat Duke. And I got Creighton moving on there to the Final Four, which sets up Kansas and Dayton, and I'm actually going to go with an upset pick here and go with what did not happen in the Maui. That game went to overtime, and I'm going to go with Dayton moving on here past with Obi Toppin, past Kansas. I think that they can get the job done, and that would be great to see as a college basketball fan. Then I'm also going to go with Creighton moving on past Baylor. I'm taking these top two teams out in the Final Four. The two teams who have been 1 and 2 for ever since January. I wouldn't throw Gonzaga in there. I'd say they've been the third best team. We're not going to have a single number 1 seed in the national championship game. We're going to have Creighton and Dayton, two teams ending with an N. I would love to see this high-flying offensive matchup in the national championship game, but I think at this point I would go with Dayton winning it all with Obi Toppin. I don't think they're getting the recognition they deserve. I mean, they're number 5 in the nation right now. I think that they're a great team to watch. I think Obi Toppin is going to be the player of the year, and I would love to see them win the NCAA tournament like they would right here. So, thank you guys for watching. I know this has been a longer video. I'll try to keep it under 15 minutes in the future, but I really like explaining my different picks and stuff. So, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe and like the video. Make sure you enter the NCAA tournament ticket giveaway. The details on that are in the description. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all later.